The Washington Wizards won the first overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft. Let's f***ing go! Ooh, ooh. That means that on Tuesday, June 23rd, the eyes of the NBA world will be on Washington. Whoever is selected with the first pick in this draft, this player will be a key part of the future of this team. And as we look ahead to the next era of the Washington Wizards, I thought it would be good to take a look back on how we got here and the history of one of the NBA's most perplexing, frustrating, and lovable franchises. And so, I've prepared a little history lesson. Whether you're a fan of the Wizards, a fan of the NBA, or just casually interested in the history of one of the most snake-bitten franchises in the history of professional sports, this video is for you. This is the story of one of the most hapless teams in the history of the NBA, and the beleaguered fans who have followed them through the wilderness. 65 years, one championship, decades of heartbreak, bad contracts, a few moments of joy, and now, a new day. This is how we got here. My name is Frank Severich, and I am a Wizards fan. Full disclosure, we simply don't have the time today to go into all of the lore of the Washington Wizards. I am simply too busy and too important for that. This video is an attempt to summarize the highlights and the many, many lowlights from the past 65 years of Washington Wizards basketball. Of the 30 teams in the NBA, the Wizards are ranked 25th in terms of all-time winning percentage. So we are talking about a losing franchise, but I am not here to dunk on the team, no pun intended. They may technically be losers, but they're my losers, damn it. And how did it all start? Well, let's take a trip back to 1961. So, the team was initially established in 1961 as the Chicago Packers. They were the first expansion team in the NBA, and in their second year, they were known as the Chicago Zephyrs. A very cool name. Now, they only stayed in Chicago for 2 years. They moved to Baltimore, and they become the Baltimore Bullets. Check out their logo. It's got like a little bullet on the bottom. We'll get to that in a second. It was a different time. The next year, it's 1964, and the team is purchased by a man named Abe Pollin. No, not that guy. Not that guy. There he is. Abe Pollin is the owner of the team until the 2000s when he passes away. He's an important character in Washington Wizards history, so we'll talk about him a little bit more in a minute. Now, pretty quickly, he adds some really good players to the team. In the late 1960s, they draft a guy named Earl Monroe, who is awesome. And then the next year, they draft a guy named Wes Unseld. Wes Unseld is a key character to track in Wizards history. Wes Unseld wins Rookie of the Year and Most Valuable Player in his rookie season. Pretty fucking good. He is probably the best player in the history of our franchise, and you'll see he's heavily involved over the course of his life in the team. Okay, let's jump forward to 1973. The team moves to Washington. They become the Capitol Bullets, and then the next year, so in 1974, they become the Washington Bullets. And they're pretty good. They are pretty good in the 70s. They go to a number of NBA finals, 4 in total. And in 1978, they win the NBA finals. It's a pretty exciting finals, too. The team was led by our friend, Wes Unseld. Wes wins Finals MVP. And shout out as well to Elvin Hayes, who was our leading scorer on the team. They beat the Seattle Supersonics in 7 games. Now, this is important. We've been around for 65 years, and we've only won 1 championship. But we do have an NBA championship, which makes us better than the Brooklyn Nets, the Charlotte Hornets, the Indiana Pacers, the LA Clippers, the Memphis Grizzlies, the Minnesota Timberwolves, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Orlando Magic, the Phoenix Suns, and the Utah Jazz. So take that, Brooklyn Nets fans. I'm just kidding. The Brooklyn Nets don't have any fans. So, after winning the finals, did the Bullets continue to build on their success and compete at the highest levels of the league? Of course not. Almost immediately, the Wizards enter a void of haplessness. The last time that the Wizards went to the Eastern Conference Finals and won 50 games or more in a season was 1979. That's 47 years ago. We are entering the dark ages for the team, an era of basketball that is so inconsequential and directionless that the stagnation from this period of time still plagues the team to this day. From 1988 to 2004, the Washington Bullets, and later the Wizards, make the playoffs once in this period of time. That is 1 playoff appearance in 16 years. Now, if you're not an NBA fan and you're watching this, maybe an NFL reference will help put this into context. It's been 16 years this season from the last appearance of the New York Jets in the NFL playoffs. That was the 2010 to 2011 season. The week of the last Jets playoff game, Barack Obama was in his first term. Bob's Burgers had just premiered on Fox. Katy Perry's Firework was number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. That's how long ago that was. So, first of all, if you have any Jets fans in your life, please take a moment to call them and give them a hug, because they could use some love. And now, imagine, in that same span of time, the Bullets made the playoff once. So, the Bullets were slightly better than the Jets, but just slightly. Now, in this period of time, the team tries to bring back the good old days and brings back the best player in franchise history as the coach of the team. Wes Unseld coaches the team for 6 years. Unfortunately, however, the team regresses during that time. Now, it's not all bad. We had some fun players on the roster at this time. We took Muggsy Bogues in the draft one year. At 5'3", he is the shortest player in NBA history. Bogues joins the team alongside Manute Bol, who at 7'7" is the tallest player in NBA history. So the tallest and the shortest player in NBA history were on the same team at the same time. Weird team, but pretty fun. Unfortunately, try as they might, the Bullets cannot escape the swirling whirlpool of mediocrity. And sometimes, when you're going through a tough time in life, you need to shake things up. And that's what the Bullets do. It's time for a makeover! Okay, so, skipping ahead in time a bit, it's 1995. Abe Pollin, remember him? He's still the owner of the team. And the name of the team, at the time, was the Washington Bullets. Well, Abe Pollin decides that he wants to change the name of the team. Now, there are 2 main reasons why. At the time, DC was the murder capital of the country. And also, Abe Pollin's friend, the Israeli Prime Minister, Yitzhak Rabin, had just been assassinated. So, Abe Pollin doesn't really like Bullets anymore. I guess saying, "Go Bullets," had become sort of uncomfortable for him, which, fair enough. He wants a different name. So he decides to put it out to the fans. This is kind of a novel concept, kind of quaint, kind of adorable. A contest is held to choose a new name, and fans are able to submit suggestions for new names. Now, when you hear this idea, you probably have this idea of like mailing them in or going to some sort of ballot box, maybe down at the arena or something like that. No, where you submit your ballots for the new name is at local Boston market franchise locations. So I just wanted to So if you want to change the name of your local NBA team, you have to go to Boston Market to submit your suggestion on the new name. I just love it. I'm so proud to be a fan of this team. Now the team receives more than 500,000 ballots, and more than 3,000 different team names were suggested. So what were the top 5 finalists for team names for the Washington Bullets? Well, of course the Wizards was one of the finalists, but what were the other 4 names? Here are the other team names we could have gone with. The Washington Dragons, the Washington Express, the Washington Stallions, and finally, the Washington Sea Dogs. I want to pause here for a moment. The Washington Wizards is a pretty goofy name, and a lot of people like to make fun of the name, myself included. There are even plenty of people who want to go back to the Bullets. But let's take a moment to evaluate each of the different names that could have been. The Washington Express. It sounds like a newspaper. The Washington Stallions. I mean, what are we doing here? Is DC known for horses? The Washington Dragons, another mythical creature. It actually sounds kind of cool. And then the Washington Sea Dogs. DC does not touch the sea. It is not near the sea. I don't know what to tell you, but I kind of like it. Now, which one would you have voted for? I think you can make the argument that of these options, the Washington Wizards is the coolest name. I guess the DC Dragons would have been cool, or maybe we just should have said f it and gone for the Washington Sea Dogs. Anyway, back to the story. There are 5 different options that fans can vote on. So the team opens up a 900 number and people could call in and vote. It was $1 a call, and all of the money was donated to a charity that advocated against gun-related violence. So it was both an opportunity for the team to engage with the fans and also a charity drive. Again, kind of quaint, kind of adorable. And the winner, apparently by a wide margin, but they've never disclosed the numbers, which is a little suspicious to me, but hey, whatever. The winner by a wide margin was the Washington Wizards. Now, alongside this, they also changed the color scheme of the team. They take the red, white, and blue of the Bullets jerseys and they change it to blue, black, and bronze to match the Washington Capitals, who also at the time had that look. There was just one small problem. Nobody liked it. They make one other change, however, and this is a change that had a real impact on the life of DC as a city. They moved the team from US Airways Arena, which was out in Landover, Maryland, to the MCI Center, which is now known as Capital One Arena, right in downtown DC in Chinatown. And this move was great. It totally transformed that part of town. It made it a destination within the city. It's one of the best examples of how sports can be a key engine of urban development and revitalization. So, it's a new day. The old name is dead. The team has a brand new arena, and then, out of nowhere, the greatest player of all time decides to join the team. This is one of the weirder footnotes in Washington Wizards history. This is the Michael Jordan era. Michael Jordan retires in 1999 from the Chicago Bulls, and then in early 2000, he shocks the entire world and decides that he is joining the Washington Wizards as the vice president of basketball operations. He also becomes a minority owner in the team. Now, this was a huge jolt of energy into the team at that time. The greatest player of all time decided to come to one of the most feckless organizations in the league. Could this be the moment where the Wizards start to build a new destiny? Well, it's sort of like when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. One property must negate the other. And ultimately, the Wizards did what Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, and so many others couldn't. They negated the unstoppable force. The Wizards win the first overall pick in the draft lottery in 2001. Michael Jordan selects Kwame Brown with the first overall pick. Now, Brown was a consensus number one pick at the time, but he was taken ahead of some very talented players such as Tony Parker, Paul Gasol, Tyson Chandler, and Kwame Brown unfortunately turns out to be one of the biggest busts ever in NBA draft history. But in 2001, we don't know that yet. And there's another surprise on the horizon. 2 weeks after 9/11, Michael Jordan decides to join the team. That's right, Michael Jordan is coming back to basketball and is gonna play for the Washington Wizards. He was 38 years old. He plays 2 seasons in Washington, and he's pretty good. He's not like the Michael Jordan of old, but he's pretty good. That said, should the vice president of basketball operations really be playing on the team? It seems like 2 different jobs, but... So, Jordan plays 2 seasons till he's 40, and then at the end of the 2003 season, he retires again. And then, abruptly, Abe Pollin fires Michael Jordan as vice president of basketball operations. A weird end to Jordan's career, and another sad and weird chapter in Wizards history. Okay, so after the 2002 to 2003 season, there's a big shift. MJ is out, and Ernie Grunfeld, another important character in the story, gets hired as the GM for the team. They then sign Gilbert Arenas, who is another very important character in Wizards history. Now remember, they've been bad for like 20 years, right? In the 80s and 90s, they were basically terrible for most of the time, no offense. Now, from 2004 to 2007, in that 4-year span, the Wizards make the playoffs 4 years in a row. They lose in the first round 3 of those 4 years, but they still make the playoffs. It was our longest postseason streak in 3 decades. And in 2005, the Wizards beat the Chicago Bulls in the first round of the playoffs. This was the franchise's first postseason victory in 23 years. So they're a semi-competent team, and Arenas is really good. This is a real nostalgia point in our history, one of the first times that my generation felt like we had a good team. Arenas was the closest thing that we had to an elite superstar in some time, and he was fun. He was goofy. He yelled hibachi after making a big shot, and he loved pranks. More on that in a second. The team around Arenas was fun, and it was something of an early internet darling. Andre Blatch, JaVale McGee, Caron Butler. But if you've learned anything from this video so far, it should be that Wizards fans are not allowed to experience joy for a prolonged period of time. It is apparently against the law. For never was a story more full of woe than this of the Wizards and Agent Zero. So, the nadir of the franchise, I would argue, is 2009. Abe Pollin, the owner of the team, dies in November. And then, a month later, there is the locker room incident. To make a very long story short, Gilbert Arenas, the star of the team, brought guns into the locker room to taunt Javaris Crittenden, his teammate, who also took out a gun in response. So what led to this incident? If you ask Gilbert, it was a joke. You see, Gilbert liked to mess around with his teammates. One time, for example, he put dog poop in Andre Blatch's shoe. But this time, the joke had gone too far. It is a massive scandal for the team. Management decides that it can't keep this group of guys together, and a massive reset for the franchise is needed. They blow up the team. The story of the locker room incident goes public on Christmas Eve 2009. So as we're unpacking all of our presents, Gilbert Arenas has gone from the hero of the franchise to the villain, and ends his career in Washington on a very ignominious note. On that day, it felt like Gilbert Arenas took a poop in all of our shoes. Just another sad and weird ending of an era. In 2010, things start to change again. Ted Leonsis becomes the owner of the team. Ted Leonsis is a key figure in Wizards history because he still owns the team to this day. He also owns DC's hockey team, the Washington Capitals, so he's a big deal. That same year, Washington again wins the first overall pick in the draft. And with the number 1 pick in 2010, the Washington Wizards select John Wall, baby.
And at guard 6'4" from Kentucky, welcome to DC, number 2, John Wall.
My favorite Wizards player of all time. A guy who led the team with real swagger and a real fondness for the city. And things start to turn around. In 2012, Bradley Beal is drafted to the team. Brad becomes the Robin to John Wall's Batman. 2013 to 2017, I would argue, are the golden years for the Washington Wizards. The Wiz go to the playoffs in 4 of these 5 seasons, and then they make it to the second round in 3 of these 4 appearances. So they're making it to the playoffs, and they're winning games in the playoffs. And shout out to the guys on these teams. Markieff Morris, Otto Porter, Marcin Gortat, Tomas Satoransky, Nene. Love these guys, love these teams. Now, most notably, I would say the high water mark for the Wizards in my lifetime was the 2016 to 2017 season. The Wizards win 49 games that season, the most wins of any Wizards team since the 1979 Bullets. In the playoffs that year, we beat the Atlanta Hawks in the first round. And in the second round of the playoffs, we match up against the number 1 seed Boston Celtics. In a thrilling Game 6 at home, with 4 seconds left on the clock, John Wall makes a 3-point shot from 26 feet away to force a Game 7 against Boston.
Porter can't find anybody. He gives it to Wall. Working against Bradley for 3. John Wall! What a shot!
He jumps up on the scorer's table and roars to the crowd. It is an iconic moment in Wizards history and a cherished memory for me. It's an incredible run, and unfortunately, we don't win Game 7. What could have been a new era for the Washington Wizards falls apart pretty quickly after that. In 2018, Wall gets injured, and then while in recovery, he sort of mysteriously ruptures his Achilles. Then Ernie Grunfeld gets fired in April 2019, and he was the longest tenured GM in basketball at that time. He's remembered for overseeing this era of rejuvenation in the team, but also for handing out some of the worst contracts in the league, with all due respect to Jan Mahimi and Davis Bertans. Tommy Shepard, Grunfeld's top deputy, is hired as the new GM. And then, in December 2020, John Wall gets traded for Russell Westbrook. Ugh, it's a terrible day. I remember exactly where I was, and it hurt. I do want to spend a moment on John Wall. John did so much for the team and for DC. He embraced the city in a way that never really felt performative. It just felt genuine. He was an emotional player, and he connected with the fans. The Wizards teams that he led were competing with the best teams in the league. They could never quite get over the hump, but John Wall is something of a folk hero in DC to this day, even without making it to the finals or even a conference finals. Saying goodbye to John Wall was tough, but in return, we got to have Russell Westbrook for a season. And the one season that Russ played with the Wizards turned out to be the last good year of the Wizards. It was a weird team. Bradley Beal unfortunately gets injured during that season, but somehow Russell Westbrook leads us to a competitive record and we make the play-in game. Then we win the play-in game. We get into the playoffs. To date, I'm recording this in June 2026, that was the last time we made the playoffs. We lose in the first round, but it's so much fun. Russell Westbrook sets the NBA record for triple-doubles in that season. It's a super fun season, a super fun year. Russell Westbrook is then traded in August 2021 for a bunch of players. And unfortunately, over the next few years, the stagnation and mediocrity of the team started to emerge again. In 2023, after another disappointing season, Tommy Shepard is fired. And now finally, we have arrived at the modern era, the Dawkins Era. Michael Winger is now the president of Monumental Basketball, and Will Dawkins is our general manager. These guys are young. They come from an analytics background, and they come from Oklahoma City. When they get here, they tear the whole team down, scrap everything, rebuild anew. And for the first time in a long time, there are adults in the room. Almost immediately, Winger and Dawkins trade Bradley Beal from the team. Now, a quick note on Bradley Beal. Brad gets a lot of crap because he signed an extremely ridiculous contract, but he is absolutely one of the best players in the last 50 years of the Washington Wizards. He's the second all-time leading scorer in franchise history, and he invested a lot into the city. I love him, but it was time for a change. Now, we did what you do when you tear it down. We collected picks, we developed young players, and we were bad. In the 3 seasons since Dawkins and Winger have taken over the team has won 15 games, 18 games, and 17 games in the respective 3 seasons. These were bad years, not fun, but they were expected and they were necessary, and the goal wasn't to win. The goal was lose to win. Lose to win. The Washington Wizards story. We were hoping to rebuild around a young core of players that we drafted. And we started to. The Wizards have one of the youngest rosters in the league, and we've drafted pretty well. In 2024, with the 2nd overall pick, we draft Alex Sarr, who has started to emerge as a possible star in the league. And we've got a ton of other exciting young players. Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George, Will Riley, Trey Johnson. Now, because the NBA has a ridiculously arcane and complex draft system, the Wizards never got the luck of the 1st overall pick during this time. In fact, fun fact, the Wizards have pretty bad lottery luck. For example, we were one ping pong ball away from getting the rights to draft the pick that became Victor Wembanyama. But that luck changed this year. And now, the moment. Charlie XCX 2026. In May 2026, the ping pong balls fell in our favor. John Wall was sent to the lottery in Chicago to be the representative for the team. And John Wall brought us one last miracle. The number 1 overall pick. The last time we won the number 1 overall pick was when we selected John Wall, and the Wall-Beal era was born. So what does the future hold? Will whoever we select be a Kwame Brown, or a John Wall, or something else altogether? We don't know. But this time, we do have a real plan in place, and a real core of players for this number 1 pick to join. We've added some star veterans to the team. We traded for Trae Young in early 2026, and he has fully embraced his new city. We traded for Anthony Davis, and who knows if we'll ever see him in a Wizards uniform, but the important thing to note is that you can see that the management is trying. They're trying to put together the pieces to start to win games. So, like I said at the top, 65 years, 1 championship, decades of heartbreak, bad contracts, moments of joy, and now, a new hope. For the first time in a long time, the Wizards might be taking their steps out of mediocrity. I don't know what the next 10 years are going to look like, but I do think it's going to be a good time to join the Wizards bandwagon. I'm not sure I can recommend Wizards fandom to anyone, but I do think that there's a chance that this team might be a real competitor again soon. The tanking era is over, and the next era starts on draft night. If you're a Wizards fan and you want to follow along, I'm Frank. I host a podcast called The Hoops Crew along with my friends Matt Sparacino, Greg Toomey, Mary Catherine Curran, and Chloe Michaela. We're going to be covering the draft and the Wizards for years to come. So subscribe to this YouTube channel, follow the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And join my newsletter at frankincense.io. The future starts now. Let's go, Wizards.